What's up guys, I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my channel. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I chopped my hair off. My hair was like probably 3 inches longer, and now it's like completely short now. But I think it's cute, I like it. It's kind of weird like seeing myself on camera with like shorter hair. I don't know, it's like throwing me off. So what if I told you that you can actually grow your houseplants in water? And I'm not talking about hydroponics. I'm talking about just growing your plants in straight up water. Today I'm going to show you 8 houseplants that I have had in my collection that have been growing in water, and I'll basically give you kind of a care routine on like what I've been doing with these houseplants. And these might give you guys some ideas of like some really easy to care for plants. When you have a houseplant in water, you really don't have to do much with it. You have to just make sure that the water is refilled and basically just kind of make sure that it's in a brightly lit area and it's just kind of thriving and happy. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about watering other than filling it up every once in a while. I'm gonna go over some houseplants today that are really easy to take care of, that can grow just fine in water as they do in soil. Now, I've been growing some houseplants here and there in water, and I gotta be honest, it is probably the easiest thing. Typically, a lot of my plants that are living in water started as water propagations and have just kind of thrived in the water that I just kind of left it in there. I'm gonna go over 8 houseplants that I have in water that have been thriving and basically give you guys some care tips and let you guys know what I've been doing with these houseplants. So let's get started. Let's see what houseplants I have in water. So the first plant I'm gonna show you is this Philodendron. So philodendrons are really good plants to keep in water. I've honestly root rotted it off and on. I don't know why, I can't figure out the right soil mixture or anything like that. So I actually have been keeping it in water and it has just been thriving. It's been doing so well in water. It's got some really good roots. So I'm really happy about that. A lot of my water propagations, I do tend to put a little bit of either Super Thrive or liquid dirt in, but I have noticed that if you do keep them in like glass jars, like clear glass jars, you're gonna see that like kind of gross like murkiness that it gets. Also gets kind of slimy when you do that, but it will give your plants the nutrients that they'll need. And then you can kind of just flush it out afterward, after like, I would give it a few days, maybe up to a week, to kind of like retain that nutrient. And then you can kind of just wash it away. Basically kind of like when you fertilize plants. That's honestly just what I've been doing. I really don't know if that's correct, but it's been working out for me lately. So that is the first plant that has been growing in water. Now, again, I had mentioned that all of these plants started out as propagations, and this did, and I'm kind of debating on if I want to keep it in water, but it's just like, it's been so good in water that I am really just considering just keeping it in there. So the next plant that I have living in water, and this plant has been living in water for a long time, is this snake plant, or Sansevieria. Now look at those roots. They're so good. Kind of pull it out so you can see. So these have been in water for a little bit. Don't mind the mineral buildup on the glasses. That's the only thing that actually is kind of annoying with water propagations or really keeping your plants in like glass jars, is you'll get that like hard water buildup or like mineral buildup or anything like that. I don't know if it's actually hard water. I've actually found that if you use CLR, it's actually a plant-based cleaning material, so it won't hurt your plants. But if you like put a little bit of CLR on it, it will just eat it away and it will completely go away. It doesn't matter if I use filtered water or tap water, it still happens. I still get the little ring around the glass. But moving on. So this plant has been living in my bathroom, which gets kind of like It is facing a southeast facing window, but the window in my bathroom is in my shower and the window's frosted. So it gets bright and direct light probably in the morning, early afternoon, and then it kind of fades away a little bit, kind of gets a little bit darker. But I have been noticing a lot of new growth on this plant, so I am just like super excited. Again, this has started out as a propagation that has turned into me kind of debating on if I want to keep this or not in water, but it does really well. I know you guys are going to probably call me out for this. When you're propagating any kind of snake plant, I would recommend to do the V method, which is basically cutting a V at the base of the cutting. This will help get the roots kind of come out without the plant sitting on top of the roots, which could lead to rotting. I didn't do that in this case. I did kind of chop them. I wanted to kind of see if it would work, and it did. So, you know, it kind of worked for me, but I would recommend if you are going to be cutting up your Sansevieria and putting it in water, to just make sure that you do the V method of doing a cutting. You basically just cut a V out in the middle of the plant. So the roots, when they grow out, it doesn't actually just sit on it, because sometimes if you just let the roots sit on the plant too long, it could just kind of rot away. So this next plant is a plant that I've actually considered taking my entire plant, my big mother plant, and putting it in water, because this does so well. But the next plant is a Syngonium. You guys may have seen in some of my videos my Syngonium albo. So Syngonium albos actually don't have a stable variegation. So what you're going to want to do when you have a Syngonium albo is to cut off any of the green leaves. If your plant is starting to really produce green leaves, you may want to cut those back to the bottom of the last variegated leaf. You can create a brand new plant with the green. Honestly, these are just as beautiful as the Syngonium albo. They're just so pretty. Like, I can't get over it. And the roots are growing really well. So my intention for this was I cut off a stem off my Syngonium albo and again, propagated it. I'm gonna kind of see what happens with this propagation in water. I've seen a lot of people kind of convert their Syngoniums into semi-hydro or pon or any Leica or anything like that. So I'm actually kind of debating on doing that. I kind of want to start to get into pon. I've seen a lot of like good benefits for that. So if you guys have any tips on pon, comment below and let me know what you guys think. If you guys have tried it out or not. This is just, honestly, it's done so well in water. This started out as like a 2-leaf cutting and it has grown 2 more leaves. I did lose a stem. I went on vacation and I didn't top this plant off before I left. So it did dry out and the leaves wound up yellowing off, but it does so well in water. This sits in my living room, so it gets bright and direct light. It's like a southeast window, but kind of more like east than south. And it just does so well. It really does. It sits on a shelf really well, and it's just so aesthetically pleasing seeing like just like a glass jar with a plant in it. I don't know, it's just... So you guys are gonna notice a trend in this whole video is that 99% of these plants were propagations that have just turned into water plants. So this is another popular plant that people keep in semi-hydro or in water, and that is a Tradescandia. So this variegated beauty, oh, look at those leaves. And even more impressive, look at those roots. I mean, look at that. How crazy. It is just blasted off in this blender. Like, it is just loves the water, loves it. I find that the one that I have in soil actually really likes water too. So this is a very water loving plant. So it's perfect to be in water. This actually started again as a propagation. I had a big Tradescandia that just kind of got it kind of long and leggy. I thought it was due to insufficient lighting. So what I did was I put it in my southeast window, and that was a huge mistake because it wound up burning most of the leaves. So I had to cut the whole plant back. Like I'm telling you, like the whole plant. I had to cut back all the like burned off stems and stuff like that. So I am left with probably 2 equal size cutting bunches like this. And I decided to pot up one of them. And then I actually kind of liked the way this looked in the glass jar. So I kept this in a jar. I just kind of kept it how it is. And it's just so pretty. And honestly, the one that I have in soil doesn't give me nearly as big of growth as this does. Like the leaves are just getting bigger and bigger as they come out. So I'm thinking this plant is like absolutely loving the water. And I mean, Tradescandias are also very easy plants to care for generally, more so in water. It's super easy to care for. This sits in my plant room, so it gets bright indirect light. The maintenance, so you want to just basically maintain all of these just like you would a water propagation. You're going to want to make sure that the water's topped off to the top of the root level, and you're going to want to make sure that the water is cleaned. You want to make sure that you clean out your propagation stations often. You don't want to get any of the green algae or anything kind of growing, because the green algae can actually stunt the growth and kind of just not really make your plants really happy. And also it's not super pretty. So, you know, I'm all about the aesthetic. So, but I'm just completely, like, I'll show you guys this. All those roots. Oh my God. And they're also healthy. Like the roots are so healthy and just so pretty. I don't know if you've ever like propagated a Tradescandia, but it is a nightmare to repot because the roots are like very, very like hair-like fine. They're so fine and they tangle all up. I actually was planning on potting this up with my other one eventually. This was actually the second round of propagations that I had for that Tradescandia. So I potted that one up and I was like, all right, well, you know, I'll pot this one up with it. And when I took it out, I was like, yeah, I don't want to entangle all that. And it wasn't a big enough spot that I could just plop that root down in there. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna keep you as a water propagation and see how you do. And I've had this in water for, I would say it's been probably over 2 months that I've had it in water, and it's completely happy. It's super happy. So this next plant is kind of like an honorable mention, but I will add it onto my list. The reason why I didn't want to add it to the list, but I'm going to anyway, is because it's actually not a common water loving plant. And that is a pitcher plant. So you guys may recognize this pitcher plant from maybe it was my March plant haul. It wound up root rotting shortly after that video. I've noticed that the pitchers kept dying off. I took it out of the soil and it was root rotted. Don't know if it was my fault or the plant shop's fault. I basically had only watered it one time. Who knows? It doesn't really matter whose fault it was, but it wound up kind of dying. So I cut it back and I tried to propagate this, and to be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing. I put it in water. It's been sitting in water for 4 or 5 months. It hasn't given me any new roots, but I get a ton of new growth. So it's super hydrated and super cute. It's even starting to grow back some more pitchers. So I have no idea. It's getting water from somewhere, but it's not giving me any roots. There are no roots in here at all. I tried moss propagation. I tried perlite propagation. I threw a cutting in my prop box. Nothing took. It did not grow. it was only ever happy in the water. So we're just gonna keep it in water and we're gonna see how it does. But it's really cute in water, like in the little jar that I have here. This is actually a spray bottle that I broke the nozzle on. So this is just cute little spray water bottle. Yeah. Let's add the pitcher plant onto the water loving plants that you can grow in water, because so far I've been having really good luck with this plant. So the next water loving plant that you can grow in water is a plant that will come to no surprise to anybody, and that is a Monstera. So this is a cutting from my mother Monstera. She was getting a little unruly. So I decided to take this little cutting. I can't figure out how to get her in frame. So I decided to take this plant. So what I did is I recently cut it, so it's not really grown too much. I just wanted to make sure that I put like a good long aerial root in there, but it is just like, it's grown pretty well. I mean, you can see like right here, like there's like a little bit of a new growth coming in, and it's got this like weird white stuff on it. It's probably new roots, but they're kind of freaking me out. But Monsteras grow incredibly well in water. I have had Monstera that lived in my bathroom actually before my snake plant, or my Sansevieria. I had a Monstera in my bathroom and that thing thrived. It thrived. I honestly didn't want to pot it up, but it got to the point where it was too big for the space. I actually had it on top of my toilet, and it was like tickling like the back of our heads when we go to the bathroom, and I'm like, you know what, like this is not gonna work. That's why the snake plant is actually perfect, because it grows up, it's not gonna grow out. So I wound up having to plant that, but this one I'm gonna like try to keep somewhere where it can grow and thrive. I mean, I know eventually this little planter, this little jar is gonna need an upgrade once it grows like a bunch of good roots, but so far this plant has been doing really well. This leaf is actually it unfurled a couple of weeks ago, so it's still hardening off, but I'm really excited to see this grow. I wanted another Monstera in my house, so this is a good way to kind of add that in. This sits in my plant room, so it gets good bright southeast window light, and yeah, it's just been doing really well. So the next water loving plant that I have on this list is a Scindapsus. I have this beautiful Scindapsus kind of sitting on my shelf behind me. So as you can see, it gets a good amount of bright light. This is a propagation. I don't have a Scindapsus that lives in water at the moment, but I have had some Scindapsuses live in water. I had a cutting of this plant a long time ago that lived in leca, but I just didn't want to deal with the maintenance of leca. I didn't want to deal with the maintenance of like figuring out nutrient balances. It was just too much at the time, which maybe I'll go back to it, but it loved it. It loved it, man. Like I'm telling you, like this plant was obsessed with living in water. I find that my Scindapsuses are more water loving. They're a little bit trickier as far as care wise. Like with my Scindapsuses that are in soil, I do have to bottom water them. I find that that's the only thing that helps me not root rot them, because they do love water, but at the same time they don't love water. I don't know, they're very weird. But this beauty is thriving in water. Like it absolutely loves it. It perked right up as soon as I put it in water. This is just a little tea light jar that I kind of reused. I actually got at the dollar store. Really cute, right? So yeah, it kind of worked out perfect to kind of propagate that in. I also have another cutting right here that is in my little propagation tube. This one, so again, they're both propagations, so they're not like, you know, super crazy, but like look at the size of the leaves on those that are coming out. Like so good, like so pretty. Like I'm so excited that this is just thriving and it's just super happy. We'll stick this one in here for now until I can put it back in the tube. I actually have to clean that tube out anyway. It's just so pretty. Like the Scindapsuses in a glass jar are just stupid pretty. Like I can't get over the whole like glass jar plant thing. It's done so well. So I would say this is a great plant. If you can't get watering down for your Scindapsus, just put it in water because it will be completely happy in just sitting in water. And I saved the best for last. I saved the mother of all plants that love water, this Pothos. Pothos, I can't even tell you. I have at least 10 pothos that live throughout my house that live in water. Like, I don't even know why I plant pothos because they just do so well in water. So this plant, this beautiful, big, luscious, leafy plant sits in my dark kitchen. My kitchen gets a bit of evening sun. I don't know exactly what way that window faces, but it gets some evening sun and it just does so well in like a low light condition. Now I know pothos do okay in low light conditions, but most of my pothos that sit in low light kind of get like small leaves or whatever. I don't know what it is, but a lot of the plants that I have in water, especially pothos, get big, luscious leaves. Like super big and pretty. It's crazy. But this pothos is probably one of my favorites. I love the jar it's in. And I just love the fact that it just kind of trails across my counter. But I have pothos, again, all over my house. Like, it is just the easiest plant to kind of prop in a little jar and decorate with. I've had this pothos kind of propagating in here, or really just living in water, for a little while. It's definitely going to be one of those plants that stay in water because I love it so much. So that's it. So those are 8 plants that are water loving. Those are 8 plants that you can leave in water and you don't even need to worry about them. Now, when I tell you that I put Super Thrive and Liquid Dirt in the water, I gotta be honest, I don't really do it almost ever. I might do it during the spring and summer, like once or twice during the season, but I don't really ever think about it. I just kind of like refill the water. Sometimes I'll clean out the jars. I'm really bad about it. I'm really bad about cleaning out my propagation jars. I'll be the first to tell you guys that. And they still do fine. They still thrive. They're still doing amazing. I really wanted to, I kind of was debating on either showing my pitcher plant or my Begonia maculata, because my Begonia maculata has been really good in water, but it hasn't really, it's still kind of reviving. I had to cut it back because it was starting to crisp up. When I went on vacation, she was one of those plants that kind of got neglected, and begonias love kind of really rich, moist soil. And I kind of neglected her, so she's looking a little rough, so I didn't want to show her. I just want to show my pride. But yeah, she is also an honorable mention because once I put it in water, it perked right back up and it's done really well. I had a begonia sitting in water for, I would say, over 6 months before I kind of was like, all right, we're kind of tired of looking at it, and I potted it up, but it grew roots just as good as the Tradescandia. So it grows like those really thin, fine roots, and it just grows rapidly. Like, it grows crazy. I mean, you saw that Tradescandia was only a few months in water and it grew so much. So those are just a couple plants that if you are getting tired of watering, if you are just like, I just need a couple plants to just kind of throw in water and kind of forget about it, or if you're wanting to maybe get like an intro into hydroponics or semi-hydroponics, this might be a good step in that direction. These are also plants that, for me at least, if I root rot them while I'm experimenting, that I'm not going to have a total loss. Like it's not, none of these plants are really expensive. All of these plants are really cheap and really easy to find. So if you do wind up root rotting it, it's not a huge deal. You can go out and buy another one easily. I wouldn't recommend like starting out doing like water plants on like any rare plants, unless you're like just propagating them. But yeah, so those are the best plants that I have in my collection that do amazing growing in water. Let me know in the comments if there's any plants that I may not have mentioned that grow really well in water for you. Do you have any of these plants that are growing in water? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for today. I hope you guys all have a great day and stay botanical.